1-826-9895.
Don't fall for vaccine misinformation. Local medical professionals are available to answer any of your questions. Initial shots and boosters are safe for people who are pregnant and even young children. Right now, vaccines are available for anyone over 6 months of age, while boosters are available for anyone over the age of 5. This message brought to you by the Native American Community Clinic. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Ramsey County's Transforming Systems Together initiative is rethinking how the county delivers services and invests in the community, including through grants. Grants are available to support individuals and organizations providing prevention services and serving vulnerable youth involved in child protection and foster care. To learn more and see if you or your organization qualifies, visit ramseycounty.us/TST grants. Applications are due by September 30th.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 36, Wednesday sunny with a high near 62, and Thursday sunny with a high around 66. Come visit the award-winning Hazel's Northeast in Minneapolis for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or weekend brunch. For breakfast, try the slow-cooked brisket hash, hippie cakes, and meat waffle, while for lunch, enjoy favorites like the veggie burger or beet salad. Located off 29th and Johnson and at hazelsnetogo.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, I want to welcome everyone to Native Roots Radio presents Rock the Vote Native Style here on Civic Media Network all over Turtle Island. We are so excited to be on today. We have a couple guests today, and Ogimaa, we do Native Roots Radio is Native issues, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Yes, and I want to let everybody know this portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Pretty excited today. We got local politicians here in Minnesota on today. We have a Native American, Laurelle Myhra, I guess. Is that how you pronounce it?
I believe it's Laurelle Myhra, and she's a candidate for school board in Minneapolis, down by you, Robert.
Yeah, and then we have Reed Olson, and I always want to say Reed Larson, and that's a different type for me. He was big in the chemical dependency network back in the day. Reed Olson, House Representative, running that in that pesky Minnesota 2A district up in the deep north.
County Commissioner for Beltrami County.
Oh, in 2A, that's right. Okay.
Yep.
Let me make a note of that. Yeah. So, hey, do you have any news before we get too far into the show? I know we talk about Native issues all over Turtle Island, and we also bring up the news here that you don't hear anywhere else. Ogimaa, you got a couple things that we can talk about and get the show going?
Yeah, I do want to touch base. Everybody by now has probably heard something or another about Hurricane Ian. Hurricane Ian tore into Cuba yesterday. It made landfall early yesterday in Cuba, and it's expected to become a catastrophic Category 4 hurricane before it hits the west coast of the state of Florida on Wednesday. Although the predictions are kind of all over the board, the storm has been really hard to track. However, when it made landfall in Cuba at about 4:30 Eastern time on Tuesday, they had to officials had set up 55 shelters. They evacuated 50,000 people, and they rushed in a lot of emergency personnel. Ian sustained top winds of about 125 miles an hour as it moved over the city of Pinar del Rio in Cuba, and there was about 14 feet of storm surge along Cuba's coast. So, as it's approaching Florida's southwest coast, they're expecting top winds of about 140 miles an hour, and it's going to hit basically the whole west coast of Florida, which is a massive storm. So, right now, there's about 2.5 million Floridians who are under some sort of evacuation warning. And Ian is still currently listed as a Category 3, but is again expected to reach a Category 4 before it makes landfall, meaning they could have winds up to 130, 140 miles an hour. This is going to be a large and destructive hurricane that hits Florida, and there's going to be impacts that are felt in the state of Florida far and wide, and even, off the coast of the Gulf of Mexico down there. Neighboring states and other places along that coast will likely have some sort of storm surge or something that hits them as well. So we just want to put our prayers up for our relatives who are down there. The Seminole tribe is down in Florida, as is the Calusa and Timucua tribes, just to name a few. So there's a lot of tribal peoples who are down in Florida, but also just prayers up for everybody who are in the path of this storm. Hurricanes in general are getting more and more dangerous and deadly, and longer, heavier rains, longer sustaining, higher water, higher tidal waves and those kinds of things are joining hurricanes as we experience more and more issues with climate change. So our prayers are up for those people. And Robert, I just have a little bit of news if you're interested.
I'm totally interested because this is Native Roots Radio. Even though it's Rock the Vote Native style, we talk about Native news and events that you don't hear anywhere else. So go to it.
Absolutely. So what I wanted to touch on was actually something a little bit that I missed earlier in September, but Paris Indigenous Fashion Week is coming up October 1st. So it's the International Indigenous Fashion Week. It's the third annual one in Paris, and they are going to be delivering a blending of fashion and music and from artists and designers from across North America and around the world. They are having streetwear, eco-friendly fashions, and traditional Indigenous designs with a modern-day touch. The show is going to be Saturday, October 1st, 2022 at the Normandy Le Chantier Hotel number 7 in Paris, France. If you are somebody who's interested in getting in last minute, you can email indigenousfashionweek@gmail.com to request a designer application. Some of the designers that are going to be there are some pretty big names. Mary Kelsey, who is an Unangax designer in Seattle. She makes custom and women's wear garments, and she designs with a lot of flair for Indigenous influence. She's been an independent designer for the last 8 years. Other names include Sage Mountain Flower, who's from the Owenge people, or the Place of the Strong People, and is an enrolled tribal member there. She's also got relatives from Taos Pueblo and Navajo Nation, and she
is self-taught in Pueblo embroidery and sewing and began making traditional and contemporary clothing for her children. And now she's designing and creating traditional beaded regalia. She's going to be featured there. Angela Howe Parrish from the Chokecherry Creek Nation. Natasha Peter, who is Casca Dana, and Maureen Saloy Eagle speaker, who is a Blackfoot woman from the Blood Tribe in southern Alberta. So tons of recognition from North America. Oh, and I'm sorry, one more. Carmen Hauket, who's First Nations Cree. So lots of really wonderful designers are going to be there at Indigenous Fashion Week in Paris starting October 1st. And, you know, I just missed covering it in any great detail, but New York Indigenous Fashion Week was September 10th. And there were a ton of designers who were present there. And I know TikTok was full of Indigenous Fashion Week, people sharing and giving some backstage treats and seeing what was backstage. Robert, did you happen to catch any of that content?
Yeah, I did. And I liked it because I knew that they were heading to New York when we ran into our friends up at Winona's concert up in Duluth. And that's where they were heading next, was New York for a couple of weeks. So, yeah. Keeping track of that. And just to correct you, I was correct. Reed Olson is a county commissioner and he's running for House Seat 2A. So.
He is running for House Seat 2A. Okay. I wasn't 100% certain of that. So that was my mistake, everybody. Thanks for correcting me, Robert.
Yeah. We get so many politicians and crisscrossed and all that, so I can see how you got that mixed up. But I thought, geez, I just read his website and I've been wrong before. So we're excited to have these guys on and really speak their truth and give them a platform, not only to speak their truth, Ogimaa, but also to get some help, whether it's door knocking, whether it's financial, those things. So we're just here to promote these young people, and I can say that because I'm old, running for office.
Right. And I just want to let everybody know, too, that early voting in Minnesota is open as of Friday, September 23rd. You could vote early in person, or I believe you can do an absentee ballot in person or vote by mail. You can vote in person at your county election office. If you go to the sos.state.mn.us website, that's the Minnesota Secretary of State website, it will tell you where your county seat is and where you can go anywhere in the state to vote early if you already knew who you're voting for.
Awesome. Hey, who do we got up next, Ogimaa?
Up next, we have Dr. Laurelle Myhra, who is a candidate for Ward 5 in the Minneapolis School District race.
Awesome. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio, and we'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Ramsey County's Transforming Systems Together initiative is rethinking how the county delivers services and invests in the community, including through grants. Grants are available to support individuals and organizations providing prevention services and serving vulnerable youth involved in child protection and foster care. To learn more and see if you or your organization qualifies, visit ramseycounty.us/TST grants. Applications are due by September 30th.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN 350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN 350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center.
Hey, this is Rock the Vote Native Style here on Native Roots Radio, and just a shout out to the Civic Media Network all over Turtle Island. We have Dr. Laurelle Myhra here, and she's running for District 4 School Board here in Minneapolis, and we are super excited to have you on. We've talked about having you on. We finally have you on. I'm so happy to have to be able to talk to you. Can you tell our people, we have a lot of people listening to Wisconsin, what district you're running for? It's seat 4 or seat 5 in the school board in Minneapolis, right?
Yes, it's District 5, and that's, if you're familiar with South Minneapolis, it's like the Longfellow area, and then south of Powderhorn, basically from over to the Mississippi and over to 35W and down to 62. So kind of a large district, but I'm finding a lot of natives live in Longfellow area. So that's really exciting.
Well, speaking of which, I don't know if you know this about me, but I taught in the St. Paul Public Schools for almost 30 years, and representation is so important. And so it's exciting to see you step up and take control of this and run for office. I just got to give you a quick Peeny Gigi. That is a lot. We talk about at the end of the show, we need to resist, divest, join a group, and run for office. And you're doing it, Doctor.
Yes, thank you. That's definitely one of the areas that are most important to me. And one of the reasons that I'm running is really lack of, teachers of color is one of the big areas that I'm really advocating for, both the hiring and retaining of teachers of color. Right, I don't know if you've seen the recent statistics that have been out, but there's only 18% teachers of color, and 63% of our students are teachers of color in Minneapolis. So it's
right.
quite.
And it's important too for our students, and I talk about our BIPOC students, to see people of color in leadership roles. I know whenever I'd see the lieutenant governor, I'd always thank her for that. And she started as a school board person too. It's so important because we don't have representation. BIPOC people, and we come with a lot of baggage, and a lot of our students are come with a lot of trauma. And I don't think a lot of people, the do-gooders, really know this, or experience that, and like we do, secondhand at the very least.
Thank you for bringing that up. There's definitely a disparity in behavioral reports against students of color and Indigenous children. So they get higher write-ups for behavior, and that's just one implication. There's a lot of impacts in who gets to take advanced courses in high school, and that definitely relates to graduation rates. So it's definitely seen across all the different outcomes is the impact on children.
I've always told my students too, and I feel like, well, let me back up here a second. When I was in St. Paul, we had Native American rate of 56% graduation rate. Now, if that was white people in the suburbs, this would be in the paper and the news, and this would be a red alert, and we'd be working on this thing as hard as we could. And the complacency of districts and school boards just blow my mind.
Yes. Thank you for pointing that out. I would definitely agree wholeheartedly with that. There is another interesting statistic that only 1 in 5 of our BIPOC students are proficient in math and then there's also a 50% gap in achievement in reading as well. So it's really substantial, and we just need more voices out there that are really advocating that this is not acceptable anymore. And I've spent a couple years on the American Indian Parent Advisory Council, and really had an opportunity to see firsthand, also with my own children in Minneapolis public schools, just, how much of an impact it is to not see teachers of color represented in the schools.
We had, when I worked, we had a BIPOC vice principal working for us for a few years, and that's a rarity. And when I started in St. Paul, be able to defuse things instead of escalate things because of who this person was, but also how he talked to people and our kids.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I agree. I think really understanding the kids these days, I think, is really important. We hear on the news a lot about the mental health disparities that are widening right now through the pandemic, and the uprising that we've seen. And children are really suffering from mental health issues at a higher rate than they have previously. So it's really even more important nowadays for us to really have our teachers and our administrators and staff really understand children's mental health. And that's my background, actually. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and my doctorate is in marriage and family therapy and family social science. So really have spent years doing research and in studying family social science and understanding the impacts of community and the racial disparities on children and families.
How do we open up our community to our kids? How can you do that as a school board member? Do you bring your background? Do you bring your knowledge? I mean, that's one of the things I feel like we're lacking at times.
So I think what you might be asking, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm understanding correctly, but when I think about how to better support our children, I really think about getting more services to the children. And I know that there's services provided in the schools, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're culturally responsive or culturally specific programming. And we do have programming in the community that provides culturally specific programming, including a program that I oversee that's a pediatric mental health program at the Minneapolis Wellness Clinic in Minneapolis here. And one of our goals is really to get out into the community and help families see that there is another way to gain support other than kind of what's in the school system that may not have worked for them before. It's kind of a different model.
Right on. And one of the things that I'd like to bring up and then get your response to is that I think these services that we want and need and have are supplemental. They're and sometimes I think schools turn it into like, well, that's the Indian kids counselor, so let them deal with that, as opposed to being a supplemental relationship and helping maybe their counselor with these issues and working together.
Okay, yeah, I think that that's a great point. I definitely think that there could be more collaboration and more coordination between the schools and community partners. That's something that has been really something that we've worked hard on. And I know that is important to Indian Ed. And to your point, I think a lot of times the pressure gets put on, Indian Ed when it's not Indian Ed's job to find professional counselors for children. But they care and they go the extra mile. So to your point, it really needs to be something that the schools care more about and really put the effort into to find those services.
That's awesome. And as a school board member, you can amplify that. Ogimaa, before I get to your question, can you let people know how to support you and what your address is, your website, before I forget?
Yeah, so my website is www.laurellemyhra the number 4 schoolboard.com, and we can put that in the chat as well. But you can request a yard sign that way. You can make a donation. You can get involved. The Open Streets Minnehaha is this weekend on Saturday. So I'll be out if you'd like to meet me, giving out signs and handouts. So I'd be happy to meet you and talk more about my campaign.
Well, I'm totally impressed, Doctor, and I'm so glad you came on. Ogimaa, we got less than a minute. Sorry, do you got a quick question or comment?
I was just going to remind people of the website and that Dr. Myhra has lots of signs that are available. So definitely reach out if you're looking for a yard sign and, ask questions. It's really important that we are in touch with those people and supporting those people that are running for office in our communities. And I'm a Red Lake member myself, so I'm really proud of you, Dr. Myhra, for all of your work at the Minnow and for doing all of this work to run for the school district, in addition to everything that you're already doing for our community. So Miigwech to you for that.
Miigwech.
Hey, Pinagigi, we'll get you on again. This was really good, and I appreciate you stopping in. Hey, up next, we got Reed Olson running for State House MN2A. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Boozhoo relatives, my name is Deanna Sandycloud. I'm from the Red Lake Nation, and I live in Minneapolis today. As the weather gets colder, you're probably going to spend more time indoors, but it's important to stay safe and healthy. The COVID-19 pandemic is still not over, and now the flu season is upon us. So protect you and your loved ones by getting vaccinated against both the flu and COVID-19. COVID booster shots have now been approved for Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. And you're eligible if you're over 65 and if you're over 18 and have underlying health conditions or work in a high-risk setting. What's cool is your booster shot does not need to be of the same brand as your original series of shots. And you can receive a booster shot of any brand that's available to you. Children over the age of 5 are now eligible for a vaccine as well. So let's protect our relatives in Indian country this winter and get vaccinated. Be a vaccinative like me. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov. Miigwech Bizendawian.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. Over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Hi, everybody. I'm Santita Jackson, and I want you and all your friends to join my new show, The Santita Jackson Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 8 a.m. Central on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow this summer, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
Seward Co-op is now offering convenient self-serve and prepackaged hot options and salad bars at both the Franklin and Friendship stores. Breakfast items available daily until 11 a.m. and brunch served all day every Sunday. Their weekly lunch and dinner menus highlight cuisines from around the world. They offer vegan, vegetarian, and gluten-free options daily. 95% of the ingredients used are organic from small-scale, local community food producers whenever possible. More at seward.coop.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 36, Wednesday sunny with a high near 62, and Thursday sunny with a high around 66. Come visit the award-winning Hazel's Northeast in Minneapolis for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or weekend brunch. For breakfast, try the slow-cooked brisket hash, hippie cakes, and meat waffle, while for lunch, enjoy favorites like the veggie burger or beet salad. Located off 29th and Johnson and at hazelsnetogo.com.
Hi, this is Representative Sharice Davids from Kansas. I'm Ho Chunk, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey, this portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, this is Rock the Vote Native Style here on Tuesdays on Native Roots Radio, all over civic media, all over Turtle Island. We're on a whole bunch of live stations in Wisconsin. We're coming out of you here at AM 950 in Minnesota, the mothership, and we're just really excited to have Reed Olson on, who's running for Minnesota TUE House, and it looks like you have a Rock the Vote Native Style shirt on. Is that correct?
I do. I'll try and get the...
Yeah,
yes.
right.
I was at an event 2 years ago and got this T-shirt. So shout out to Nancy Bolio, who I got it from back then.
Yeah, Nancy's on every other Tuesday, so she's excited that you are on tonight and we're able to talk to you. Wow, where do I start? You know, I'd like to know what you're hearing on the door knocking and how are things going with that, because that's meeting people, you know, where they're at. And I know even if they don't agree with you, they probably have been waiting for somebody to knock on their door.
Yeah, it's one of the funnest parts of door knocking is several times I've had someone say, you know, I've lived here for over 20 years and you're the first person to ever knock my door and ask for my vote. And so it's, you know, door knocking is just such an essential way to get elected. It's been really interesting. And I'll say, first of all, I've got a great group of volunteers that have been working on the campaign through the summer that have been hitting the doors really hard in the Bemidji area, and we've been up to Bedad as well, and we've been going to a lot of events in Red Lake. But at the doors, people's concerns are pretty consistent, regardless of what their political affiliation is or how politically active they are. People are worried about the price of housing and the scarcity of housing. People are concerned about, a lot of families are concerned about access to childcare, access to healthcare, and I think something that is I've been hearing a lot here in the Bemidji area, and I imagine you would hear it in many other places, is access to quality and affordable mental health care. And I might be a little bit biased there because I run a homeless shelter here in Bemidji. And so a lot of times I will mention that at the doors. And so it's kind of a easy segue into discussions about housing and mental health. But those are some of the main things that I hear about when I ask people about inflation or gas prices. People will talk about that, but I think housing is probably the number one issue I hear, and then the cost of housing, the scarcity and the expense.
Yeah, let our audience know too where 2A is in Minnesota.
So yeah, everything got redrawn and all scrambled and stuff. And so the old 2A used to go. It was Lake of the Woods, Red Lake, and northern Beltrami County. I think a portion of Roseau County, all of Clearwater County, and down into Hubbard. But now it's changed, and instead of being in Hubbard and the southern 2/3 of Clearwater, that's all out, and now it is basically the county line is the southern border of Beltrami County, is the southern border of the district, and then it goes all the way up to the northwest angle. It includes the northern third of Clearwater County, so Clearbrook, Gonvick, and a couple townships and some Red Lake land in Clearwater County. And then it kind of excludes the southeastern corner of Beltrami County, going all the way up to Black Duck and Kelly, or neither are in 2A. They're in 2B, in Erica Bailey Johnson's district. So 2A was a solid Republican district. I think the last time Jeremiah Lind ran a great campaign, and I think he came away with maybe 40% of the vote. I don't remember exactly where it was, but and that was campaigning pretty hard. Now the incumbent Matt Grosso lost 51% of his district, and so he lost Bagley and Shevlin and northern Hubbard and picked up Bemidji. So he lost some solid red areas and picked up some pink areas and some blue areas. So this is probably the best opportunity that we have to flip this seat for sure in 10 years. So I'm very excited about the race. I'm excited that I get to run. And I've been, up to Red Lake. Was I there today? No, I was there yesterday. Yesterday, the day before, and I've been up there quite a bit, trying to spread the word and get gin up support and enthusiasm to get out to the polls.
So we see a lot of change in seats across the nation. A lot of exciting things like Alaska and places that were traditionally red because of maybe one or two reasons. And I think we're going to be not only surprised by the BIPOC vote and the Native vote, which it really flipped a couple of places, but I think we're going to be really surprised about the women vote this year too, because of the main issue of taking women's rights away.
Yeah, well, you look at some of these special elections, like in the first is the Minnesota, first congressional district. The Democrats lost, but they lost by a point or two, and they should have lost by 6 or 7 points or whatever. So you're seeing the Democrats kind of overperform in some situations, and surely when you see what the Republicans are calling for in this state, and in other states, they're kind of getting a little bit over their skis after the Dodd's ruling, wiping out 50 years or 40 years of Roe v. Wade. I think that people see that if allowed, this very extreme wing of the Republican Party that is really kind of taking over the party is going to put laws into place that 90% of the population don't agree with. And so this is a really important election. It's important that we are able to maintain the House and that we reelect our governor and that we can flip the Senate so that we can actually get some work done. I'm kind of getting away from your question a little bit. Yes, I think that we are going to see, I guess what you'd say traditionally marginalized people, I think are going to be coming out of the woodworks this year to vote because they see how important it is. And you look at who is representing us in the in 2A right now. He's very much a culture warrior. He is going to scream about CRT and all kinds of other exaggerations. And I think that people are kind of growing tired of it. and want someone that actually wants to get into office because they want to do good things for their neighbors. And I think that that's, people know me in Bemidji and in Red Lake. I have a history, not as I've been a local politician for quite a while, but simultaneously I've been working on a lot of really important issues that affect people's lives, and people know that, and they know that I'm that I'm genuine, and I think that they want someone that is just more reflective of their values and more reflective of their community. And so that's why we're going to win. I think it's because we do have a lot of enthusiasm. A lot of people know me. A lot of people know that I'm, you can see my fancy home that I'm coming at you from. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for change, for the change that we really need to see happen.
Right on. And I think keeping these Republicans' feet under the fire, because I see a shift right now where they're denying what they said just maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And I think to remind our voters really what they have in mind. I mean, and nationally, they've told us what they want to do.
Yep.
And locally, they're in step. We call them probably the Trump Republicans now. It's just it's crazy.
Well, you look at the national level, Pete Stauber voted against every decent bit of legislation.
Every single one.
Yeah. And then the infrastructure bill, which was a really incomplete bill from a lot of people's perspectives, but it was something. But he voted against it. It's putting a lot of Minnesotans to work, a lot of northern Minnesotans to work. And now he's running around the district talking about how much he supports all of the infrastructure spending that's going on, when he very openly voted against it and publicly opposed it. And so, it's constant revisionism. I mean, it's constant shifting sands. You're never having the same argument twice. But I think that I've been consistent, and a lot of the people that I support in other races are consistent, and people see that, and I think that they'll come out and support us.
Well, I appreciate you taking the high road too. But it's just, for me, I'm in a safe area here downtown, or down in St. Paul. But just to see what's going on up there and all the misinformation, it just, it really, I don't know, chaps my hide, I guess is.
And I've been a victim of that myself, politically, about 2.5 years ago. Well, it's getting closer to 3 years now, I guess, but we had a very contentious vote in Beltrami County on whether or not we wanted to be welcoming to refugees. And Tim Sumner's up for re-election. For those of you listening, we got to get him re-elected at the county board. He is a great representative for not just Indian country, but for all of Beltrami County. And we absolutely have to get him re-elected. I'll quick shout out to Emily Rivera, who's running for re-election at the city council level in Bemidji. She needs to get elected. Sandy Henham running for county board. She needs to get elected. Mark Morrissey, he needs to get elected county board. But so, in the wake of that, there were people, when we made that refugee vote, that were doing everything they could to scare the pants out of people, especially the older generations, about what the vote meant and what it would be and what I was trying to do. I had someone tell me at a door the other day, this is again why door knocking is so important. I knocked on a door and someone said, "You're that person that was going to build that apartment building and bring in hundreds of refugees from Somalia and Syria." And so it's interesting, telling, well, that's not really, I'm a cook, I wash dishes for a living. I don't build apartments. And that was never really the plan. But also, if someone came to our community that was in need, I would definitely support them coming in. So I'm just very excited to run a positive campaign. I think when people get to know me versus my opponent, and I surely hope that he will agree to debate with me. I haven't heard that he's committed to the debate, but we will see the difference between the two of us quickly.
Hey, Reed, can you hold on for another quick segment? I know you're busy, but I'd like to talk to you just for a few more minutes on the other side of these commercials.
Absolutely.
Awesome. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're going to be right back with Reed Olson running for Minnesota State Seat 2A House Representative.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Ramsey County's Transforming Systems Together initiative is rethinking how the county delivers services and invests in the community, including through grants. Grants are available to support individuals and organizations providing prevention services and serving vulnerable youth involved in child protection and foster care. To learn more and see if you or your organization qualifies, visit ramseycounty.us/TST grants. Applications are due by September 30th.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
COVID levels may be falling, but the virus is still around. Stay healthy and up to date on your COVID vaccinations and boosters. Right now, everyone 6 months and older is eligible to get a vaccination, while everyone 5 and up is eligible for their booster shot. Plus, you're eligible for a second booster if you're over 50 or received an initial booster dose at least 4 months ago. Find a vaccination site by calling 651-304-9986 or visit vaccineconnector.mn.gov. This message brought to you by the Native American Community Clinic.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh, we didn't hear Reed. He was on mute. We'll have to do it again. Do it again, Ogimaa.
All right. This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
There's three-way harmony there. Cool.
Quality howl right there.
Right on. Hey, we're here with Reed Olson, and he's running for State House Representative 2A up in the deep north. We like to call it the deep north up there, like the deep south. There's some weird stuff. You reminded me with that vote in Beltrami about not welcoming immigrants. I think what came out of that too, Reed, was that the last time immigrants moved up there was maybe 2 of them, like 20 years ago or something. It wasn't even really an issue. So that fear mongering was really right on.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I remember Commissioner Sumner made a good point while we were in the meeting. He said, I just have to take a moment to say, I'm paraphrasing, I have to take a moment to say how interesting I find it that one group of immigrants is talking about not wanting to let another group of immigrants into the state or into the area. And it was really unfortunate that and then the thing is that about 6 weeks later, it was all mooted by a federal judge's decision that because it was a Trump and we all took the bait. The whole idea was to have local level xenophobia be exploited and fears be exploited and get people to turn in on themselves and argue with each other. So we followed, we took the bait and we did it and we argued and everybody got mad. And then what's interesting is that since then, now that we have the war in Ukraine going on, as the war was starting, so now maybe 5 months ago, people started calling me, people that opposed the idea 2 years earlier, said, hey, maybe you guys want to change your vote because now we see Ukrainian refugees and they're cool, So
Right.
that kind of just underscored I mean, I hate to say it, I love my county. I love living in Bemidji. We are good people here, but there is that lingering racism. It just is. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but here we are. I mean, we can look at other outcomes here in our community, and we see right away. You just have to look at the jail roster and see that a community that's 25% Native, about 75-80% of the jail are natives. You look at the shelter that I operate, about 70% of the people that we see come to our doors are Native, and it's because it's marginalized people that end up at our door. And so you have mental health problems, substance use disorder, or things like that. And you don't have a strong support network. You fall through the cracks, have a hard time finding a doctor. You end up at our doors, So as I said in an interview once with a local radio station, if you ignore the systemic and historical racism in Beltrami County, then you really ignore Beltrami County and its history. I mean, you cannot talk about Beltrami County unless you address the racism. You look at the formation of the Red Lake Nation. They kind of got duped out of Upper Red. That was supposed to be in their boundaries, and it's not. So it's interesting to see Red Lake and other bands kind of pushing the boundaries of the treaty rights and treaty obligations and stuff. And now that I think that, I was with a group of county commissioners, and they were a little bit concerned about the elk hunt that Red Lake is looking at doing up north here. And said, why are they doing it now? Why are they pushing these rights now? And it was an innocent question. I mean, it was just an honest question. And I said, well, for 100 years they've been on their, been pushed back, and they've just been trying to survive. And now that they've been making some gains, and they've really been examining themselves and examining the treaties and examining their position, and they're starting to look at what their rights are. I think that those treaty rights, those off-reservation treaty rights and obligations, are really what are going to be the tip of the spear in turning around climate issues here in Minnesota. Because they have rights off reservation. And if the dominant culture, if the dominant governments are doing things that are making it near impossible for them to harvest wild rice, to hunt, to fish, then they have a legal claim to change things, So I'm really excited to see where this can go in the federal courts, in the state courts, and tribal courts.
Yeah, I'm really excited too, and I want you. We're talking to Reed Olson, who's running for House here in Minnesota, 2A. We've been here for 10,000 years, and what I'm really excited about, you talk about these things that are being brought up now recently, and people are wondering why, is that our young ones are really coming to the forefront here and understanding. The next generation here, Nancy's from basically the same generation as me, and we had everything taken away from us. And now we're asking for these things back. So that's a really good point, Reed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, I think, going forward, but then there's going to be some diplomacy is going to have to come alongside it, because we're going to have to figure out, as always, I mean, how to get along and how to make sure that we can share the bounty that is northern Minnesota.
And protect it. And I think that's one of the things that everyone can agree on, is that it's beautiful up there and we need to protect it. So Reed, before we let you go, I need you to get out your website and how we can support you. And, and if you need people to help you knock on doors, I'd like to hear that too.
Yeah, and we absolutely do. We're trying to do a lot of last minute door knocking. We got a little over a month away, but it really seems like the last minute. These next 40 some days are going to go by in a hurry. So please go to my website. It's votereedolson.com. And we've got a survey on there that you can fill out, or you can email me at reed@votereedolson.com and let me know if you want to door knock. There's a donation button there. This is a fully grassroots campaign. We're not accepting any corporate PAC dollars. We did get some money from some unions. I'm proud to be supported by the Minnesota Nurses Association, by Ed Minnesota, Teamsters, and LIUNA, and I'm forgetting a couple, the CIO, AFL-CIO, the IFO, and boy, if I forgot one other one there or two, I'm very, very sorry. But so we'd love to get some support door knocking, but we do need money. So please, there's a donate button. Give me a bunch of money. No, $50 if you're a Minnesota resident. $50 donation. We can send you a rebate form, and you'll get that money back from the state. So it makes it possible for people like me to run grassroots campaigns. It makes it possible for people that don't have a lot of money to be able to participate in the political machine. So I'm very excited. Come and door knock with us. Come and phone bank with us. But yeah, go to votereedolson.com or email me at votereedolson.com. I say my name so many times these days. But yeah, I'm just so thankful that I was able to come on the program today. Boy, time flies when you're having fun. I could talk with y'all for a couple more hours. I feel like we barely scratched the surface on a lot of the important issues up here.
Well, we'll do it again in between your door knocking. We can get you live on your phone too. That'd be great.
Oh, super. That'd be fun.
Next couple Tuesdays, we know we're winding down. I just want to say, hey, Pinagigi, thank you for being on, Reed, and good luck, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Chimagwich. Yes, thank you much.
All right. Wow, Ogimaa, that was awesome. I just got to say we had some really great guests today, and one of the things that I wanted to just circle back before we leave our audience here is that, putting a school board member in and is a good way to fight that pipeline from high school to prison, and we need to fight that. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. You've been listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake. We'll see you tomorrow. Free Leonard Peltier now.
This is New Beginnings, hosted by award-winning broadcaster and speaker Fred